Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ricky's Reviews. Yes, we're finally done with the Scream franchise, and we're covering something different. Now, what are we covering? Well, it's a movie based off of a game. Both the game and the movie came out not too long ago, and I mean, if you've seen the title of the video, you know what we're going to cover. But today we are covering the indie horror movie, drumroll please, for how long this takes, Iron Lung. Now, this movie, as I said, came out in 2026 and was directed by, acted in, and also this guy did just a bunch of other stuff to help get this movie made. Markiplier, or Mark Fishbach, internet personality, YouTuber. You've probably seen him everywhere at this point. But yeah, he did a lot for this movie to help it get made, and pretty much the premise of this movie is a guy named Simon, which we learn later in the movie, but I'll just say his name now to make it simplistic for everyone, is trapped in a submarine which is in a blood ocean on the moon, sent down there by a corporation to get scientific research. Now, as you can assume, well, it's a horror movie, so you can assume that things go poorly for this man, and boy do they. But I'll get into that later. But first, let's just get into my likes and dislikes with the movie. So without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So for starters, I do want to say this movie is definitely one of those that if you are not one for slow burn movies, because this movie's over like 2 hours long, 2 hours and 7 minutes I believe is the full runtime, but this one is definitely a slow burner. So if you're not one for those sorts of movies, then this definitely isn't the movie for you, because if you're wanting something like, like Scream or just like a slasher, this is definitely not for you. This one's more of a slow burn, almost body horror, science horror, just blends a bunch of different elements of the genre into one movie, and that's what this is. But it's mostly a slow burn, because it's literally just following the one actor, Markiplier, in the submarine trying to do his thing, and there's a brief, like maybe 5-minute scene of him interacting with other people, but it's very limited to just his perspective. So if you're not one for these sorts of movies where it's a slow burn and it's kind of like enclosed, like an enclosed character, enclosed set, then this one isn't for you. But if you are one for these sorts of movies, this one's definitely a good one that I definitely loved. And I will say that the claustrophobic elements of this movie and the more enclosed, I guess, setting definitely helped it a lot, because there's no other way you could make a movie off of this game with like other characters and other scenes that aren't just the guy that you're the main dude, because all the game is just the guy in the submarine literally just going around taking pictures of things until obviously you get killed by the monster. Spoilers. But I mean, this game's been out for years, so but yeah, so they did what they had to get this movie done, and I honestly do appreciate the little bit of elements of other characters and the lore that they added in. I'm kind of rambling right now, but that's just kind of how I do it with this, because some movies like this are a little bit more difficult to get a formulated thought on, and you kind of just have to ramble and make the most out of it. But yeah, that's something that I liked about the movie, was how it all kind of played in, all the different elements of the set, the characters, and everything else kind of played in to add to that claustrophobic sense. Like, there are definitely some scenes in the movie towards the latter end which are just very claustrophobic and claustrophobia inducing. So if you're not one for those sorts of movies, kind of like that, The Descent, other stuff like that, this one isn't for you. This movie isn't for everyone, I'll say that, and that was definitely reflected in the reviews, because some people didn't really like this movie, and I could see why, because it's not really for everyone. But yeah. And another thing that I liked is Markiplier's acting. I went into this one not really expecting like a really good performance, because I didn't really know that the dude did any acting. I kind of thought he was just a YouTuber, because I haven't gone down the whole Markiplier iceberg before going into this. I kind of just went to watch a neat horror movie with my friends. But he delivered a really good, stirring performance with the emotional scenes, the scenes of him losing his mind in the submarine. And in the games, you never really hear the character talk, or at least not a lot. So it was kind of weird going into this hearing him talk, because I have played the game. So just having that switch, Markiplier does a good job of picking it up and doing the acting for it. And yeah, that's what I have to say for likes about the movie. Now for dislikes, I will say that some of the scenes were a little bit more on the confusing end for me, because I was kind of like lost with what was going on at some points. Like my one friend kept turning over to me, he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know either," because some of it was just like, "Oh, now this is happening. Now this is happening." So for people that didn't play the game, or people that didn't do like all the lore dive into this before going to see the movie, might have not understood it. But that's always just been a thing with video game movies. I think I even mentioned this in my FNAF review, which I did earlier in the last year. It was out around October. That when you go into a video game movie not playing the game, you just do it as like going to see a movie. You don't necessarily understand everything. But even though I've played the games, there was still some stuff that I didn't understand. Jeez, I can't speak. Which I think kind of just into the whole thing of them having to pad it out, because it's like a 40-minute game and they had to extend this into a full movie. So there's obviously going to be some things that they added in there for the movie and that weren't in the games or any of the other, I guess, media that Iron Lung has been a part of. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't really a lot that I disliked about the movie. The acting was good, and one thing I do want to say for likes, the score definitely helped a lot. The score just added into that element of claustrophobia and fear that you're feeling watching this movie yourself. So that's another thing I just want to mention for likes. Now for my favorite scene of the movie, it is this bit towards the end where the submarine is about pretty much going down, and Markiplier is just, his character is going through it. That's all I'm going to say. But that scene was just so, like, violent and brutal. But, yeah, that's what I have to say about it. And that's my review for the movie Iron Lung. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.